I'm Scott Farber. He, of course, is Larry Mallory, the host of the Generations Broadcast Center television program, The Extra Point, and the president of the NFL Players Association Dallas-Fort Worth chapter, the second largest chapter in the United States. So he's a big shot.
Well, and good friend of.
And a good friend of mine.
That's
so,
right.
So we're in good shape. And, of course, Larry, a former New York Giant football player, and we're going to talk a little bit about the Giants a little bit later. With kind of the beginning of the end of
Don't make me cry.
Manning.
Don't make me cry.
Yeah, but we'll get to that a little bit later. I just, and I keep saying how one day on the website, on the Generations Broadcast Center, we're going to eventually do a political show. And I don't want to do anything political on this show, but my gosh, we're getting so pushed towards it every day. I just cross my fingers and hope Alabama does the right thing. When they vote for a senator, it's like we've got Republicans and Democrats always fought together, and I want them to fight about policy together forever and get it to work out. But we just got to be careful about things we do, and we'll see. I think the women of Alabama have a big decision to make. How much Alabama is a very proud Republican state, and God bless them, they need to be.
That's right.
But how important is that really when we get down to things like possible pedophile, and it's going to be ugly.
It's going to be ugly. It's going to be tough. I think the only thing that probably could take people's minds off of it is the Auburn-Alabama game.
Well, boy, what a lead in! What a lead in! And so, all right. So okay, we're done with our political.
Wonder how that works out, though. I mean,
yeah.
In that state, the Alabama-Auburn game. I mean, you might have cousins on both sides. People that love each other but rooting for the opposite team. So all we can do is wait to see what happens.
All right. So now let's go to college first. The glasses are on, man. All right, Clemson, Auburn, OU, and Wisconsin are the top four. Are you okay with that top four?
Right now I am. I think that those four have performed pretty well. But I think also, it's a very competitive time in NCAA. Well, and it's a lot of focus on NCAA.
Yeah, it gets back to what I always say. You could lose at the beginning of the year, and you climb your way back.
Yeah.
OU is an example.
Yeah.
And you lose at the end of the year, and then you're going, how the hell did this happen? Alabama.
And but it's beginning to sort of morph.
Yeah.
Where you don't know where the college stops and the pros start.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the coaching staff. Up in Michigan, you got a ex-professional coach.
Right.
Chip Kelly just signs with UCLA, another professional coach. So is this like a breeding ground for the pros now? Because now they're moving the pro coaches into. But you know what, Scott? Though I have to apologize because you're right. With Chip Kelly getting $23 million for 4 years, I don't know if that's an amateur coach or not. Is it?
Yeah. It's unbelievable.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
This NCAA is really.
I'm doing something wrong.
That's right. We're doing something wrong.
I'm telling. My kids always say, if you would have played professional ball, Daddy, we'd be living in a mansion. And I laugh. Not when I would have played professional ball.
No, you might.
I would have had a second job.
A third job.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's just crazy money when you see what these coaches sign for.
Yeah.
Well, the Alabama coach is a former NFL coach too.
Yeah, and I don't think he's going anywhere.
And I never understood why you could succeed more in college over the pros or more in the pros over college.
Well, that's I've never thought about it, but if I had to say something about that, I would say that at college you're not at the top yet.
Right.
You know what I mean? But when you get to the pros, you're at the top. And
I would like to hear what Saban has to say about that comment.
Don't tell him.
Yeah. Woo. Because he was, I don't know, about a 500 coach in the NFL for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And probably, arguably, the greatest college coach.
Yeah.
Belichick
type NCAA coach.
Yeah.
Really.
So who is the better coach then? Who is ranked higher, Belichick or Saban?
Well, I think from a hierarchy standpoint, they'll probably put Belichick in there.
Because it's the NFL.
Yeah, because
you don't
it's
get
the
higher
NFL.
than that.
Exactly.
You know.
But as it relates to development of players and impact players and recruiting
Right.
and the usage of skill sets and that type of stuff, I think they're probably in the same cup of tea.
Now, just between you and me, who could offer more money to play college or
That's hard to
who
know.
offers those kids the money?
That's right. Because I think Saban is $7+ million a year,
Yeah,
plus.
yeah.
So I don't know.
I'm not talking about the coaches. I'm talking about getting the players to the
Oh.
school. I just remember, I'm so bad on names, from the Dallas Cowboys that was on our show.
Flozell?
Not Flozell.
Tuto?
No, you keep going.
John
One more.
Nyland?
Who now?
John Nyland?
Nyland, yeah, I can't believe I
Okay.
forgot Nyland's name.
Okay.
John Nyland, he sat there and said on the show, and you didn't pick up on it, but he kept saying, how much Iowa, or wherever he went to school, how much money they offered him.
That's
So I
right.
know it was a joke, but it's still, anyway.
I probably didn't pick up on it because I wanted to stay away from it. I didn't want an NCAA
call
investigation back.
Oh man, you're not kidding. All right, so now college games this week. We've got TCU and Oklahoma, and TCU is going to say if they beat Oklahoma, they've got they have some bragging rights. So right off the bat, Oklahoma, now that they have to play a championship game, are in a tough spot. It's tough to beat the same team twice in 1 year.
Yeah, it is.
I remember years ago, Nebraska and OU, when they were both always playing for the national title, the two of them, and they would play on the last day of the year. Nebraska beat OU,
Okay.
and they got the right to go to the Orange Bowl back then. And after the game, the commissioner, I guess it was, of the Big Eight at the time, called the head coach to tell him what team they picked for them to play in the Orange Bowl. And I just remember his face just dropped when they announced it's going to be OU.
Oh, wow.
And then OU easily won that bowl game.
Now, what's your alma mater?
Oh, here we go.
I think it's OU, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, I know that you usually ask me things, but I'm really not aware of what happened. Now, you're right. TCU got beat by Oklahoma the first time.
Right.
Baker Mayfield, quarterback.
It's pretty good.
Pretty good quarterback, in fact. But interestingly enough, this week, I thought he was a bigger guy, and I've been hearing some analysis of him. However, he didn't play. He had a bust up or something on the sidelines, and they didn't have him play the next game. Did you?
He didn't play 2 plays.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, because the next year's quarterback came into the game and started.
Okay.
And he was going to play the first series. And he ran 66 yards on the first play, and then they scored a touchdown on the second play, and then Baker came into the game.
I knew it
But
was
let me tell you something. You can't condone any of that crazy action, but at the last game, Baker really was a gentleman.
What was the crazy action? What did he do?
When he went out to the Kansas game, when he went out before the game and he stuck his hand out to shake the hands with the other captains, they all had their hands behind their back and refused to shake their hands.
Really?
Then there was a very obvious cheap shot on Baker during the game. Long
Yeah.
after the play was over, somebody came and ran right into his shoulder. So he started going on the sidelines, give him a few expletives across the way, and then he grabbed himself, But they put it all on camera.
Right.
So if it never made it to the camera, nothing would have happened. But since it was on camera, he came out and apologized, and the coach apologized, and they removed his captainship for the one game,
Okay.
which apparently is a big deal to the kids.
Yeah.
And then they said that he wasn't going to start, and it's like even Baker said, not starting didn't hurt as much as having the captain title taken away for the one game.
Yeah.
But when it's all said and done, Oklahoma should have won that game anyway. Even if Mayfield didn't play, it would have been my guess.
Right.
But it's very important to get that discipline in the kids, and it's very hard to do, especially in that sport.
That's true. That's true. But he's at a very elite position. He's
Right.
being considered for the Heisman Trophy.
Right.
That means that
and an NFL draft.
and an NFL draft. I mean, if you Heisman Trophy, then the NFL draft is without a doubt.
Right.
So the actions that he had, those types of actions actually are taking zeros off of his salary.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean,
You know.
the quarterback. You and I talked a lot about the quarterback role.
Right,
that
right.
role has to. It's a herald role because you're going to get the most money and the most attention. And if that's how you're going to operate,
Oh, you're not going to get drafted.
You're not going to get.
Yeah. No,
And,
no, no.
I had him going to the Giants.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
please don't think bad of Baker, guys.
Well, I think he showed a real good side of him, but as you know, it's a very emotional game and it's a very tough game, and it's and they get their emotions really wrapped up, and it's how do you control it, and it's the individual has to do it.
Yes.
And I think there should be not any condoning. It's a tough enough sport. And it just gets worse if you have to worry about how people are going to act.
Well, I tell you, I think how people act also has a lot to do with obviously the position. He's a quarterback, but
Right,
the coach.
right.
You don't see emotion on a Bill Belichick team.
No.
You don't see emotion on an Alabama team.
No.
You see focus.
Right.
And you see discipline.
And it's 60 minutes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And from a discipline standpoint, if you do something, Alabama is operating like a professional team. If you do something to negatively impact the image of this team, you will be handled.
Right.
You've heard that handled.
Oh, yeah. So let me ask you then, you have this loose cannon. He was a loose cannon even before he came to OU.
Baker was?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the question is, when you have a talent like that, do you walk away from it? Do you try to correct it? Or do you just live with it?
No, you don't let it destroy your team. I mean, I've
But
heard...
how do you not? I mean, how do you prevent that from happening?
By cutting people like Johnny Manziel?
Right.
But
he didn't get cut till he was in the pros.
Well, right.
So
you don't find that out. You have to find that out at a level of sport
right.
that's comparative to the highest level. And
Right.
there's no other level in college football.
Right.
I mean, in college sport that's closer than college football to NFL football. So, the college amateur environment, NCAA environment feeds it.
Yeah.
So that's where you actually are being tested.
It's still kids, though. That's where we lose sight. These are still teenagers for the most part when you're in college. See, to me, in the pros, it handles itself better because take Johnny Manziel. He was wonderful in college, his play on the field. But like we talked about, in high school, there's one kid on the team that's going to go on.
Right.
And in college, there's 3 or 4 kids on the team, and the bigger schools, maybe that'll go on. But when you get to the pro level, everybody is the most disciplined, the biggest stars their whole life. The ones that train the hardest, the ones that are on a mission the most. You know what I'm saying?
I do, but there's still this hierarchy.
Right.
And
that's what I'm saying. It starts to control itself because every teammate's going to kick you in the rear when you get out of line.
That's right.
In college, I don't think the kids that aren't going to move on to that next level can stand up to a Baker Mayfield, on the team.
Well, even at the college level, though, there's a hierarchy.
Right.
The quarterback is expected to do different things. He's expected to lead.
Right. And when he's not, who's going to put him in? Who's going to set him straight if not the coach?
But now this is football. And what was our old saying about football? Football is like Greyhound buses. When one leaves, another one is coming. Baker is not the last great quarterback. Manziel was not the last great quarterback.
Right.
And trust me, those teams will survive without them because they've survived before
Immediately.
them. Thank you.
Immediately, yeah.
So, it's if you cannot show the type of control, and especially nowadays with all of the focus that we have,
and all the cameras everywhere.
the cameras are everywhere, the phones are everywhere. If you can't control yourself, you're putting a lot of people in jeopardy. Not just yourself.
Right.
And I think that the quarterback even has a higher responsibility of that than anyone else.
So, we're talking about the football. It's going on in the political world. We've all got to really step back and take a look at how we're acting.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true. And decide what is right and wrong and start following. I always tell my kids, point your nose in the right direction and start walking.
Yeah.
And I guess... We'll see how Baker reacts all the way through. In this country, we give everybody a second chance. So he's kind of on that line now.
Yeah.
And, the better athletes seem to get a second and third chance,
That's
in
true.
some cases.
That's true.
But it'll be interesting to see, A, the Heisman, and then B, the draft. All right, so let's move on. TCU and Oklahoma. Who you picking?
I'm going with Oklahoma.
Okay.
Yeah.
Even with Baker?
Even with Baker, I'm thinking that I'm sure that his parents have said to him when I just said, "Hey, quit taking zeros off of this number."
Yeah.
And the apology was a good apology, but there was no other option but an apology.
Right.
So I would think that based upon the options that he has going in the future, he's going to come out and give a pretty good game.
Now, what about the players on the other team, the captains who went out and wouldn't shake his hand? They had to apologize too, but I don't even know who they were.
Oh yeah, that's a team situation to me. I mean, I can't see.
Okay.
I can tell you what would have happened at our college with Too Tall and all of us at college. We would have had a 5, 10, and 10s. You remember when I tell you how they punish us by rolling 5 10s?
Yeah.
We would have had so many of those that we would have never done that again or done anything crazy.
Rolling 100 yards in football gear, I don't know how you survive that. Man alive. I just wanted to see everybody get up and walk a straight line after that.
I hear you.
Georgia and Auburn. Now, Auburn's lost twice already, and I'm wondering, is there adrenaline spent after that win against Alabama? Georgia ain't a pushover.
They're not a pushover. They're not. In fact, I think in the beginning of the season, they had picked Georgia for number 1 or 2.
Well, Georgia's a top-ranked team.
Yeah, they are. That's going to be a good football game. I'll probably go with Georgia.
I'm taking Georgia and also Oklahoma and Georgia too. All right.
We're on the same page on both of those. Wow.
Yeah. Now the number 1 team in the nation, Clemson, is playing Miami, who until last week, that game that Miami lost last week meant nothing really because now their whole season rides on Clemson.
Yeah.
And if they beat Clemson, the number 1 team, they certainly have an argument to be back in the top 4.
Without a doubt.
Who's going to win that game?
I would go with Clemson. I think that they not only are they having a good season, they're coming off even their last year's season was it's almost like they're keeping momentum.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Yeah, but I can tell you, just even with us having to talk about every week the 4 teams and they somewhat rotate, that says that we're going to have a very, very good bowl season.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's going to be some good football games in the bowl season.
Well, and finally, the number 4 team, Wisconsin, playing Ohio State.
I don't really know a lot about the team, but the team is consistent. They run the ball well. It's a well-rounded team, well-coached team.
Right.
And they seem to, even over the last maybe 5 or 6 years, they've always drifted up near the top. So I like that. I like that coaching environment at Wisconsin.
Well, it's going to be interesting. When it's all said and done, who's number 1? When it's all over?
Clemson.
That'll be it for today. Yeah, go Giants. Okay. I've lost faith in Oklahoma because they kind of lose the big game all the time.
Yeah.
But I'm going to stand by them.
Well,
what's the worst that could happen? They could lose.
I was about to say you should stand by your alma mater.
Yeah.
I think that's
So
I just don't know what you're going to do if Baker Mayfield becomes a Giants draft choice. You and I might have to sit on the same side of the desk or something.
I might have to root for you. I can't
right.
believe it. All right, now, very few people know that you are a professional golfer, but you refuse to go on the 50-plus tour because you say you're way too young. Tiger Woods is coming back this weekend.
Yeah.
What's that going to be?
I think it's hopefully it's positive for the game.
Well, it's going to be positive for the game because since he left, the numbers have been down.
The numbers have been down. I agree, but since he's left, his numbers have been very visible too. He's had a number of different numbers. I think honestly, we've talked about this in terms of generational football players and comparing the different generations. I'm not really a proponent of that. Jim Brown had 12 games. Gail Sells had 12 games. These guys have 16 games.
Right.
I think that Tiger Woods was a generational gap for golf. He pushed physical fitness into the game. He generated the opportunity for new equipment to go into the game.
He added zeros to the pot of money.
He had zeros to the pot of money. He was a different look for normal historical golf, But I think it's moved on. I really believe that, and I've heard with him coming back that he's hitting the ball a long way. Well, he's kind of set the mode for hitting the ball a long way. I just believe that it's in a new era now. I think that it's a younger era. The equipment is even a little better.
Right.
He's trying to get along with that. I'm glad to have him back, without a doubt, because I think he's valuable. I think he's valuable and very positive for the game, but I don't think he can achieve the type of success that he had earlier.
Well, he's 41 years old.
There we go.
And
that's what we're talking about, the evolution of the game.
Yeah. I was always a huge Tiger fan. Everybody was always a huge Tiger fan. And we all want him to do well. We'd like to see him win another major. I don't know what's possible or what's not possible. It seems very improbable that he can get to a form where he could be competitive to win a tournament. Yeah. Competitive, I'm sure he could be still.
Yeah.
But then there's some of these older guys that have been winning tournaments.
Like Phil.
And Phil's still playing very good golf.
He is. He is.
But Phil, with Phil, I noticed his fourth round, he seems to be worn down a little bit.
Yeah.
Where these 22-year-olds, it's another walk in the park. But for Phil, after 3 days of walking 6 miles, Sunday is a hard walk.
And Phil and Tiger actually pushed the golf course design to a new level.
Right.
So now, in the old days, you might have 3 or 4 holes that you had to get at 300. Now you got to get at 300 every hole outside of par threes, and get it out there. And if you're not hitting 600 or 590-yard par fives in 2,
In 2, they're doing it with a chip.
Exactly.
A driver and a chip. What's tell me your best golf shot?
My best golf shot, I think is more the approach to the green. My second shots, in playing and caddying, I've caddied on the European Challenge Tour and watched a lot of pros play. And the drive is very important, but to get that putter in your hand in regulation, or to get in greens in regulation, they call it GIR,
right?
Greens in regulation. If you do that, you'll have good scores.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's now getting those scores, and that's where the issue is with golf. You practice and practice, you get good, you're able to get into the low 80s, the low 80s, high 70s, but it's so hard to move off of that number to a better number.
Right.
It's very specific, and that's kind of why I like it, because I can't do anything else but think. I can't do anything physical anymore.
So what's your personal best shot? Not you told me getting to the greens, but what's the best shot you've ever had?
Oh, well, I guess most guys' best shots would be their hole-in-ones. Whenever you get a hole-in-one on a par 3. And I think my best shot was probably, I had a hole-in-one on about 160, 170-yard downhill par 3 at Royal Johannesburg Country Club in Johannesburg.
And what was the date and time and who
I
witnessed
can't
it?
remember. Well, it was some witnesses, but I can't remember the date and time.
Yeah,
it was a little while ago.
Okay, so we'll be talking about more and more golf. It looks like that.
Right.
That's very good. All right, so I'm going to tell you my one golf shot. And I don't play anymore, but
I like for us to play sometimes. By the way, I'd like to get that publicly online.
Yeah,
you and I need to play more golf together.
Hey, I'd love to play again.
Okay.
One time I was playing on a public course with some friends, and our wives were walking along with us. So you know how important this golf course tournament was.
Right.
So we're playing along, and there was a 280-yard hole. It was a par 4, 280 yards. And I drove the green, and it's sitting right in the middle of the green.
Wow.
And I'm telling my wife, I go, this is the best shot of my life. Look at what I just did. You got to understand, I just drove the green from 280 yards, and it's sitting here, a makeable putt,
eagle.
A makeable eagle.
Yeah.
Isn't this great? And my wife's friend, my buddy's wife, was standing with my wife, and she looks at me and she goes, "Excuse me, Scott, can't you see we're talking?" I'm going, this is the best moment of my life. And excuse me, Scott, can't you see we're talking?
Right.
Okay, so you know how important that was to everybody.
Right.
But anyway.
But you held it close to your heart.
Forever.
Though.
Forever. I mean, we're talking 20 years ago already. All right, so now let's get to the pros. We're benching Manning for Geno Smith.
Oh, let's hope so. not that Manning is the bad quarterback is totally responsible for all the losses. But Scott, we need a change.
Geno Smith?
It doesn't matter. We need a change, and not only in the quarterback position. I think we need a change in the front office, in the head coaching job. I think Ben McAdoo might be looking over his shoulder right now.
So would it be better to take Manning out now and make this an issue, or just let him finish the season? That's obviously not going anywhere anyway. Which is better? Which is worse?
Well, I think the better is going to be what his strategy is to get them better. And if
we're making a coaching change, it doesn't matter what his strategy is, does it?
Well, the coaching change that I just said was something that I'm just talking about.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's what they want to do with the Giants,
Yeah.
but I'm sure that either the coach or the quarterback will be changed. Something has to change. We can't keep going in the same
Manning
direction.
Done?
I think he's been done for a little while. And when I say done, I don't think he's physically less than anybody else or whatever.
Right.
I just think that he's achieved all of the things that he's set out to achieve. And now that team is it's an older team.
Yeah.
I mean, the guys have been around for a little while.
But can Manning go play somewhere else, or is it time for him to say, "I'm going to go be on TV commercials with my brother again"?
I would imagine that that decision would be relating to the zeros, and I think the zeros will probably be bigger on the advertising and promotional side than what his brother is doing than it would be. I know there's less injuries associated with it.
Right. Well, let's talk about a couple of teams. The Vikings are 9-2 with Case Keenum, who's in his 5th season, 29 years old, and he's having a great year out of nowhere. So we know the Vikings is not Sam Bradford's team.
No.
But is it Case's team or is it Teddy Bridgewater's team?
Well, as it stands for the 2017 NFL season, this is Case Keenum's team. He's done everything they've asked, performed well.
Okay, next year.
Next year, the training camp will decide that. We don't know the extent of Bridgewater's injuries.
So they're going to bring them both in next year.
They're going to bring them both in. I would imagine they bring all 3 back next year.
Yeah.
I don't see Bradford, though, continuing to bank that type of salary and not contribute.
Right.
They're going to move him and do something with him.
The Chargers destroyed the Cowboys. They're both 5-6, and they're talking about the Chargers have a chance, yet for the playoffs. How did the Chargers start like 0-4? And of course, we talked about how they're the best 0-4 team around. But can they make the playoffs? And are the Cowboys done? And is Garrett done?
Well, Jerry Jones said that there will be no adjustments to the Cowboy coaching staff, and as a Hall of Fame owner, I can't go against that.
But how long? Everybody in Dallas, Garrett is a very likable guy.
Yeah.
Everybody likes him.
Yeah.
But they've been playing 500 basically under him. When you look at career stats, how much longer?
I don't think that the timeline is on Garrett as much as it is. I remember my grandfather used to say, excuses are building blocks of nothingness used to build highways to nowhere. Their excuse right now is Ezekiel. And so for me, I'm thinking that because Ezekiel is out, and because he's out, their performance is where it is, that takes the pressure off of the Garretts and the Dak Prescotts and the Tyron Smiths and the Sean Lees and the injuries that takes the pressure off. Now, if they were at full health, they were at full strength, and they were still doing the same thing, then there could be some issues with Garrett and possibly some issues with some of the other coaches. But I just think that they have a reason to put it on Ezekiel Elliott right now.
The Rams are 8-3, an impressive win over the Saints.
The Rams, Jared Goff, best kicker in the league. They got what is it? Is it Leonard Fournette? No, is it the running back Gurley? Mm-hmm. Todd Gurley. They're doing things right now that people really didn't think they would be doing.
Right.
They don't have to go a long ways to score.
Right.
When you got a kicker that's challenging, he challenged a 64-yard field goal this past week. but he's accurate. I don't think he's missed anything outside of that field goal over 50.
Right.
So when you can get your offense, when your offense can get something out of every down or every score, then I think that's going to make them pretty.
Is the quarterback better than people thought he would be?
I think he's much better. When you look at him, he doesn't physically look like the Trubiskys and these kind of guys.
Right.
He's more of a brainiac looking kind of guy.
Right.
But this guy has a great arm. I saw him throwing off back leg, off foreleg. He has a good arm. He can read defenses quicker than most young quarterbacks I've seen. And that was highlighted this past week. All they talked about was his vision.
Right,
they call it reading the clock.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And those quarterbacks that can read the clock the quickest, they see something, they say, okay, if I see that, I know that this is happening. Those are the type of quarterbacks that have long careers and great careers in the NFL, and I think he's going to be one of them.
Steelers are 9-2, and suddenly there's no talk about Big Ben retiring.
They go through some changes. They obviously love each other. They go through some changes. Did you realize that J.J. Watt's brother played with Pittsburgh?
No, I didn't know that.
I didn't either, but he had a good game. His name is
Watt.
His name is Watt. That's right. His name is Watt. And he's a defensive end or like a weak side linebacker, but had a good game, ran some people down, did pretty good. They're playing the Packers, so what can we say?
Where would that team be if they had Aaron Rodgers?
Oh, they'd be
right there.
They'd probably be right there.
Yeah.
But we talk about Aaron Rodgers and we talk about the Packers, but I think that the Pittsburgh Steelers now are like gaining in their cells. They even got nicknames now.
Yeah.
You just see the Killer Bees.
Yeah.
Ben, Bell, and the other.
They're feeling
Browns.
their oats.
Yeah,
now.
they're feeling their oats now, man.
Yeah.
And it's a good time to do that because they have a hurdle. They always have one hurdle.
Yeah.
And that's the Patriots.
Yeah.
They have to get by them.
Yeah,
And those are the two best records in the AFC right now.
All right, before I move on to the games that are coming up this weekend, you told me you wanted to say something about a game that I didn't want to talk about. I think the Eagles squeaked by the Bears past weekend.
They did squeak by them. In fact, both of the scores had the same number in them. I think Trubisky, the Bears had a 3 in their number, and Eagles had a 3 in their number.
Yeah.
So, but I wanted to try to make you feel a little better about things because I really believe
they looked awful. You're going to have to work hard to make me feel better about that.
Let's think about it. The
Bears
right
fumbles.
now,
they forced 2 fumbles.
But they have a top 10 defense.
Yeah.
If you have a top 10 defense, you got a good, young, strong quarterback. I like Jared Goff's arm strength.
Yeah.
I love Trubisky's arm strength. That's what I watched Sunday.
Yeah.
So let me check him out a little bit, right? This young man can throw off-shoulder fades, back-shoulder fades. He can get the ball to the sidelines with a nice little speed on it. Those are good positive things that can help the Bears.
What does that team need as you look at them? What do they need?
Just to play together. You got a rookie quarterback that's never seen the speed of the game. They need to get through this year, play together. He needs to be the leader that he can be, and I guarantee you won't be feeling like this next year about the Bears.
My fear is that their defensive coordinator Fangio is going to go somewhere else now.
Really?
Well, I'm sure he's going to get head coaching offers now.
He probably will. But then that's also a good thing because quality things come out of Chicago, like yourself. In fact, I'm sure that you probably know some of the Chicago trivia. May I ask you a little Chicago trivia?
Okay, ask me. Here we go.
The NFL and the Chicago Bears were both named on the same day.
Oh, bro.
Do you know what day that was?
It was snowing. And it was chilly outside.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
It was June 24th, 1922, right? The NFL was named, their former name of the NFL was the American Football Association.
Right.
On the 24th, they renamed it to the National Football League. But my question to you was, what was the former name of the Chicago Bears?
Chicago Stanleys or something?
That you hit it. What? Way to go. You got to give me some. Oh, I'm sorry, but you got to give me some. It's the Chicago Staleys.
Staleys, okay.
That's right.
Yeah.
I had never heard about the Staley's. I couldn't wait to
I don't
ask
even
you about
and I
them.
don't even know why I got close on that. To be honest with you,
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I know I must have. I've heard it, and but I
Yeah.
never thought about it, and that's why I said the Stanleys.
That's
but
it.
was
It's the
Staley's.
Chicago Staley's.
Staley's.
And I said, well, wow, were they like the first AFL team, or were they?
Well,
a
the
part
reason
of-
I said Stanleys is because I think it's George Stanley Hallis. I think that was his name, but it was the Chicago Staley's, and there must have been an investor named Staley or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. I thought that was pretty unique.
Yeah. All right, I got that. Well, I got. You
June
got
24th, 1922.
Yeah, so it wasn't a snowy. Well, it might have been in Chicago.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. But on the Philadelphia side, you can't say enough about that team. It's
Oh my
a complete
gosh!
team.
Boy, are they good.
The Z effect is there. They were 24-0 at halftime. He had 270 yards passing, 24 first downs. The 4 straight games of winning by 23 points or more.
Yeah.
This is like a
Machine.
machine. They're really getting confident. Most complete team on defense and special teams. No first quarter touchdowns.
So the Cowboys aren't going to catch them.
Oh no. Their defense. They're the number one defense against the run.
Right.
And if you can stop the run,
Oh, yeah, you win
you're
games.
there. Excellent defense. And this past week, I thought that you would ask me, because Chicago and Philadelphia both have brothers that play for each other.
Oh, wait a minute.
You're getting there. You're close. I can hear it coming. It's on the way. Here it comes. Chris and
The Longs.
The Longs,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Chris and Kyle Long
Chris and
brothers.
Kyle Long, yeah.
So they the Bears had a rough one this week, but I really believe that there's a good future with the Bears.
Yeah, well, we're going to find out. All right, let's talk about the upcoming games here.
Okay.
Week 13.
Wow, 3 more to go, huh?
Yeah, it goes quick, man.
You know, this past week there were no buys. I never realized
Well,
that.
I think the buys are over.
All the buys are over.
Yeah.
And all the teams that played on Thursday for Thanksgiving, you only had 3 teams
Yeah,
playing,
yeah.
and then everybody else played. I didn't
Yeah.
realize that for years.
Yeah. People complain about the Thursday night games, but you know what? I do like it because there's just, you got that something to look forward to if nothing's going on.
You know, Scott, I don't know if people are complaining as much as players
Well,
are.
I know the players are.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
If
no
you
doubt.
play Sunday and then have to play Thursday,
No, that's
your body gets into a regenerative rotation.
right.
And when you don't get that 5, 6, 7 days, that 1 day rest,
No,
it's hard.
it's tough. Oh, the players, no. I'm just saying as a fan,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I like knowing that, there's that comfort knowing that, okay,
I got a game.
there's got a game tonight. There's nothing going on. There's a game tonight. All right, so this, I think, is going to be a real good game, the Vikings and the Falcons. The Falcons had a horrible start. They're now 7-4. The Vikings are 9-2. This game, I think, is more important for the Falcons than the Vikings. So who's going to win this game?
Well, I'm going to go with the Vikings. And I'm going to go with the Vikings because of their momentum.
Right.
They have great momentum. And the Falcons are in the, AFC South. That's the
Right.
toughest division.
Yeah.
I think the worst team is 7-4.
Right.
Or something like that.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
they, let me see. I think the worst, the Saints, Panthers, Falcons, and Bucks. The worst team is 4-7, the Buccaneers.
Yeah.
But it's the strongest.
But the Falcons,
league.
the Saints, they're all still fighting for the title.
That's right. The Saints and the Panthers are 8-3, and the Falcons are 7-4.
Yeah.
So, but I'm going with. I think I'm going to go with
The Vikings.
the Vikings for this.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Falcons. They're at home,
Yeah.
and I think it's more important to them. So we'll see.
Okay.
Well, the Patriots are playing the Bills. Normally, you don't think that's a big deal, but the Bills are fighting for a playoff spot.
And I don't know how when you bench your starting quarterback, Tyrod Taylor, then you put in this Peterman, Nathan Peterman.
Right.
He starts the first quarter with 5 interceptions, and then they put Tyrod back in. I think the team is in a little turmoil right now. When you got quarterback switches like that, the team now questions the head coach.
Yeah.
You've benched a guy that's performed, and now you have to go back and get him again. He's not going to have as much confidence in you as he had before. So I think the
Pats will just
Pats will, they'll be 10-2.
60 minutes of just a walk in the park.
Yeah.
I don't understand this. We raved about them all year. The Chiefs are now 6-5. They can't win a ball game. They're playing the Jets. This is a big game now for the Chiefs.
It's a fantastic game for them because even though they're 6-5, they're still leading the division.
Right. They won't be after this week.
They won't be
though.
after this week. You know, they got the AFC West. I don't know what's happening with that team. Alex Smith, I think is. Well, I used to think he was a phenomenal quarterback. I liked him in San Francisco.
Is he injured? And we don't know it?
That's something I might not be aware of. Maybe that's the case. But I know that the team is not clicking.
So I mean, it's like 1 or 2 weeks maybe. But boy, it's been a terrible run for them.
People had high expectations for that team.
Yeah. Well, here's a game that doesn't sound like much on paper, but again, this puts the winning team in the playoff spot. The Lions at 6-5 and the Ravens at 6-5.
The Lions and the Ravens. So now we have Matthew Stafford and Joe Flacco, right?
Yeah.
I believe in Matthew Stafford, but he's been a little injured.
Right.
And I think that the location of the Ravens, I think it allows them to play better in the type of weather that we're moving into.
Right.
I'm going with the Ravens.
So the Ravens quarterback, after they won the Super Bowl, he got all that money. Was that worth it?
Yes, I think it's worth it. You know.
Well, I know to Flacco it is.
I was about to say, and it'll be very difficult to get any player to say that the money that they received would not be worth it.
Right.
So, and especially in a situation where we know that whatever the player is paid, the owner and the coaches and the personnel are happy with their salaries as well. So,
well, and there was a time when the coaches didn't get paid anywhere near what the players get, but now with these contracts we're hearing, the coaches are doing pretty well.
They're doing pretty well. I think they're doing pretty well.
Well, this is probably the game of the week: the Panthers and the Saints, both 8-3.
Yeah, that's going to be a game that's going to test our show, and I say that because I talk about mobile quarterbacks and big quarterbacks. Well, we got a big mobile quarterback and a little mobile quarterback with Drew Brees and Cam.
Right.
And I right now, Cam has primarily been the offense.
Right.
He's had to break out of the pocket. It's hard to bring him down, that kind of thing. Drew is not going to run around a lot, but he's going to hurt you.
Yeah, but if you take Drew out, they don't have much of an offense either.
I don't think so.
So both quarterbacks, I think, are very important.
Who's behind Drew? I don't even know. Who's the backup quarterback?
I don't have any idea because
I'll find that
it's
out.
just Drew Brees.
Yeah.
I mean, we could Google it, obviously, but it's Drew Brees.
And look how he avoids injury now that I'm thinking
38
about it.
years old.
That's right.
It's amazing. Of course, you and I are sitting here like 38 years old.
As we put our glasses on.
No, can't be on when we're on camera, but that's going to be a good game. Who you picking?
I'm picking the Saints.
I would think the Saints, but there's just something about the Panthers, maybe their coach's connection to the Bears.
Maybe so.
I'm just going to go with I don't know. I really don't know. I'm going to pick the Panthers because I think if it comes down to it, Cam Newton might be the difference.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But
remember now, and I didn't mean to cut you, but the Saints have come back twice. They won. They didn't win the last one, but they really should be 9-2. They got a running back. This Kamara Ingram combination,
right,
has just been killing people.
Oh, look, they're 8-3.
Yeah.
So you don't have to sing their praises. That's what I'm saying. I think that's potentially the best game of the week.
I think so too.
I mean, I don't know who the Bears are playing, but I don't think it's probably as high up on the list.
Or the Giants.
The Giants.
We really do well to hold up for our teams.
There's something wrong with us. All right, the Eagles 10-1 against Seattle 7-4. I don't think Seattle's going to have much of a chance. Their defense just isn't what it used to be.
Well, I agree. I'm going with the Eagles, and not too many people wouldn't.
But Seattle might surprise us.
Seattle's defense might surprise us. And what I don't know and what I'll need to research is the injury status on the defensive side.
Right.
I know that Sherman is out with
Right.
an
Yeah,
Achilles
he's
tear.
gone. Yeah,
that's
he's
a
gone.
that's a tough one. They can
Yeah,
pick on
yeah.
that.
Should the Bears have let Jeffries go? They didn't pay him. You know, they didn't want to pay him the money he wanted. Was that a mistake now that they have Trubisky?
No. Remember Greyhound buses?
Oh, yeah,
It'll
yeah.
be another 6'3", 6'4" guy come through pretty soon, probably this year.
Yeah.
In fact, we talked about the Chargers, that Allen kid that killed the Cowboys.
Right.
He's 6'3", 6'4".
Yeah.
So that tall receiver type, is
Yeah.
can be
Yeah.
dominant.
Well, and
That's
we're gonna run now. We're gonna call it a day, Larry, because we've got to get ready to go. We're producing the extra points.
That's right.
That'll
It's a
be
big week.
preparing sometime in January. So be looking for the new season of the extra points. And if you missed it, go to the website generationsbroadcastcenter.com. Watch any of the extra points that we did last season. But really watch that last show. Our little highlight reel
Yeah.
show and outtakes is a lot of fun. And we even got some podcast outtakes in
That's
that show.
true. That's
So
true.
hopefully if you missed it, you got an opportunity to go see it. I'm Scott, he's Larry Mallory, and we'll see you next week.
See
Take
you
care.
next week, Scott. Thanks.
Bye-bye.